Hey everyone, this is Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to talk about hormone dysfunction and its connection to mycotoxin illness. Okay, and we'll go over that in detail. I personally once had the 90-year-old man's testosterone levels. I had like a reading of like 85 when it's supposed to be 600 and something. So I'm definitely well qualified to talk about this. So before I go into this, let me first say I'm not a medical professional. This is not medical advice. This is for information and educational purposes only based on my experiences. So back to good stuff. Okay, so how can something like mycotoxins, mold, cause hormone dysfunction? That's pretty crazy, right? Well, it isn't. You know, the way it works is that when you have mycotoxin sensitivity, or you have antibodies that develop to mycotoxins over time, the body becomes more and more and more and more and more reactive to the mycotoxin, right? And the person is still typically living in the same environment. Oh, and over time they become more and more reactive and sicker and sicker and sicker. And they think they have autoimmune disease. They think they have this condition, that condition, this neurological condition, depression, anxiety, all these things. But in fact, it's mycotoxin illness. And they're chasing their tails, and they wonder why they're in the situation they're in. But what happens in that situation is that they enter a state of survival, and their body's in survival mode. And in survival mode, guess what's not essential? Hormone production. Okay, you don't need hormones to be able to function in survival mode. All right, you need adrenaline. All right, you need those that noradrenaline boost, that boost in the brain, that fight or flight. Right, but eventually that fight or flight wears your body out, wears your hormone production out. It's your hormone production, right? And this is what happened to me. You know, I kept grinding away at life when I had this mycotoxin illness. I kept pushing and pushing and pushing and eating the wrong foods and not treating my body well and trying to overcompensate with other things to make up for the fact that I wasn't feeling well from this mycotoxin sensitivity. And eventually my body got sicker and sicker and sicker, and I didn't know what to do. You know, at one point in time, my body was a complete wreck. You know, I'd lost 70, 80 pounds, rashes all over my body, reacting to every single food. Like I said, testosterone, 90-year-old man's testosterone. You know, how did I get out of that situation, get my testosterone levels back to normal? Well, it wasn't from shots, okay? Though I tried those at one point when I was at the absolute worst. I tried the shots, and that was not good. How to get out of that situation? Well, number one, I reduced my stress dramatically, okay? And I did that first by doing deep breathing, okay? And I'll go back to mycotoxins, but I want to tell you everything else first. I did it first by slow, deep breathing, removing the stress, getting on a consistent schedule, you know, eating mostly plant-based foods, not overeating the meat, you know, not overdoing things, staying balanced, getting proper rest, making sure my body was constantly in a state of expecting normalcy and calmness and rest. That was absolutely key. If I wasn't doing that, it didn't really matter what I would do. Even if I went to a new place and wasn't in mycotoxins, if I was still burning my body away, eating all the wrong foods, had all the wrong behaviors, then I was not going to be set up for hormone recovery. So that was the point I want to make. Second thing, once I was eating the right diet, I had the right behaviors in place, then I got out of the place I was living, right? And at the time, I didn't even realize that I had, that I was even had mycotoxin sensitivity. You know, now looking back on it, I know I did based upon what I went through over the course of time and what I saw with my daughter. But, you know, I got out of that place. Next thing I know, within a matter of, 6 months, a year, something like that, hormones started to recover, started gaining weight back, started feeling better, started being able to exercise a little bit, started having more of a sex drive, started to recover from stress more, all the signs of normal hormones. And definitely, of course, I can't deny giving some credit to the colostrum as well. You know, the colostrum really helped to restabilize my body when my body was a complete wreck. But even when I was drinking the colostrum and I was living in a moldy house, I still wasn't getting much better. You know, I was better to a point where I could tolerate things in life, but I couldn't. I could tolerate foods. I could go out and do things now, but I definitely was not better. And I definitely did not have the sex drive that I wanted. And I definitely did not have the life I wanted. And reality is the mycotoxins was the missing link. Once I got my body into a state where I wasn't reacting constantly to something I was inhaling, and those weren't draining my resources and sucking all the minerals and the nutrients out of my body just to kind of keep creating these antibody reactions. It was just draining my body of all of its resources when I kept reacting to these mycotoxins. As my immune system kept reacting and reacting and reacting, I went more and more into survival, and it became less and less necessary to produce these hormones. Next thing I know, I was in a state of hormone deficiency amongst other things. And as I said, mycotoxins were the root cause. And I work intricately with clients who have severe mast cell activation, you know, with histamine intolerance, autoimmune disease, these things. We investigate the mycotoxin strategy or mycotoxin illness, mycotoxin concept. We see if their antibodies are high. We see what they're doing with their diet. You know, we investigate, you know, the stress triggers, the things, lifestyle, behavioral things, and really start to go through the things that are leading to the illness. And obviously there's supplements that are used at some point in time, but we want to make sure that we're doing everything, at least we're moving in the right direction with everything else. You know, if you can't master your own behaviors, you can't master your self-control, then you're always going to look for external solutions. And that is not the way to permanent change and lasting change and real recovery and real healing. That's just enabling yourself to continue to make the wrong choices. So this is what I help people do. I help them identify the things that are actually setting them back. We create dietary symptom logs. You know, we create logs of their stress and emotional triggers. We identify what's happening actually on the course of a daily basis, you know, over the course of a week. And we say, hey, what did we do that caused the problem? Oh, well, hey, I ate you know, a steak. Haven't had a steak in a week. I ate it. I didn't feel good the next morning. The ears are ringing, stomach hurt, whatever, right? And we start to look at what's happening and the reactions people are having to these foods. We start to help them connect the dots so they can stop being, you know, a victim of their cravings and their preferences and get them out of that symptom cycle and into real healing so their body can actually do the healing on its own, you know. This is a very different approach that I take. If you have had no success with all these other people that you've talked to, this is something that you clearly is very different. It's worth a shot. Give me a holler. My website's endsickness.org. I got 100+ articles on there. I got hundreds of videos out here in nature. I'm teaching people how to heal themselves. And you know, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you subscribe to my page and look forward to seeing you on another video. Take care.